here at MAD Security in Huntsville, Alabama. Wanted to start, of course, by saying thank you all for taking the time to joining our town hall today. And I'm joined here with Maritime Cyber and CMMC compliance expert Cliff Neve. Cliff, I'd like to say hello, sir.
Hello, everybody. Hopefully you're well.
Good, thank you. Well, yeah, Cliff's joining us today. He's going to assist with the presentation as well as answer some questions afterward. Over the next 3 hours, I'm kidding, guys, over the next 20 minutes, we'll be discussing CMMC compliance, common reasons for audit failures, preparing for an audit and being assessment ready, as well as how to choose a C3PAO, and then JSVA versus CMMC audits and more. So please make sure you stick around to the end. Whenever we get to the end of this presentation, we will have some giveaways that we have for you, as well as the Q&A session afterwards. You can submit those questions and we will definitely be more than happy to answer as many as we can for the time that we have allotted. If we can't get to your question, don't worry, we'll definitely reach back out to you afterwards. We definitely appreciate all the questions and we'll take as many as that you send to us. So definitely would appreciate it. I'll move on here today and we'll start with what is a CMMC assessment. Of course, many of you that are here are already hearing what a CMMC assessment is. It's nothing new to you. But what I'll touch on is a couple of things. CMMC, or Cybersecurity Maturity Model Certification, ensures that DoD contractors, follow strict security requirements just to protect CUI. In the past, you could do a self-assessment, but CMMC Level 2 requires a third-party verification by C3PAO to confirm that you are doing what you say you are by implementing all 110 NIST 800 171 controls. In failing to meet those requirements could end up in you failing to meet compliance, which could result in things like losing contract eligibility, losing contracts that you're currently in even, depending on how the contract is written. So we know that CMMC compliance is crucial for you and your business. And if you're here today, we suspect that's the reason, and we're here to help. So there are common reasons for audit failures. Now, for being honest, CMMC is extremely challenging. Many companies struggle with things like struggle with compliance for reasons like the lack of security, but they could also run into some unexpected hurdles during that assessment process. What some of those unexpected hurdles look like are misaligned system security plans, or your SSP, with the security controls. You might not have addressed all 320 assessment objectives because you've got more than 110. You've got 320 total that have to be met. Weak or incomplete evidence documentation, incorrect scoping leading to increased compliance burden, or an inadequate preparation for the audit. Now, these challenges can lead to delays, additional cost, audit failures, but the good news is they are preventable if you approach it the right way. Everyone in the room is here because CMMC compliance is becoming a priority for you if it hasn't been already. And some of you may be in the early stages, while some others may be gearing up for the assessment already. So are you wondering if your organization is ready for the CMMC audit? Are you trying to figure out what's required and how to meet it? Or are you just concerned about cost, time, and the complexity of compliance? No matter where you're at, these are all valid concerns. And today's discussion will hopefully bring clarity to these issues for you. And if it doesn't, of course, we can go into more detail later. Feel free to reach out to Cliff or I, and we can touch on your exact case and have a discussion around how we might be able to assist. Something that's very interesting, I think that would be good for everyone here to take away is many companies don't fail their audit because of security flaws, their documentation gaps. It surprises a lot of people because they think security is all about firewalls, the tools, the technologies, but documentation is just as important. Your CMMC auditors will ask for evidence for security practices that are implemented correctly. If it's not documented, then it doesn't exist. That's the way that an assessor is going to look at it. They're going to say, show me where your documentation says that's what you're doing. Prove to me that's what you're doing. And that's why it's crucial to maintain well-organized security policies, your system diagrams, and your access controls. So that brings us to how are you going to be audit ready? We're going to break down the process step by step. So there is a clear roadmap for achieving CMMC certification. If you take it one step at a time, it's going to be a lot more manageable for you. Definitely understand that it's overwhelming whenever you look at CMMC as a whole. Step one is understanding the CMMC requirements. If you don't have an understanding of that, it's very difficult to move forward. Then you're going to want to have a gap assessment conducted. This is if you have no idea where you stand against these controls. This is going to give you the results on which controls are met, partially met, or unmet. And then that way you can create a POAM or plan of action and milestones, and then you can start approaching it by priority until you do reach all of those controls. Step 3, you are going to implement those required security controls. Step 4, prepare documentation and evidence. Again, you got to have that documentation and evidence that you're doing those things, that you have those security controls implemented. After you've got all of that underway and you know, hey, I'm ready, you're going to engage with that C3PAO. And then you're going to have to maintain compliance and continuous monitoring after that. It doesn't stop after you've engaged and been certified by the C3PAO. Something that you've got to continue on doing, because you're going to have to be recertified. They're saying now about every 3 years. So just remember, it's not a one and done process, it's a lifestyle. Each of these steps build upon the next. Skipping one can and will cause issues for you down the line. So we said C3PAO. A lot of people hear that term, but they're like, exactly, what's going to happen. So here's what happens during a CMMC assessment. A certified third-party assessment organization, or C3PAO, is responsible for conducting your audit. And here's what they'll be doing during that audit. They review your security policies and technical safeguards. They conduct interviews with your team. They evaluate your compliance with NIST 800-171 controls. And then they'll issue the certification for decision. Again, they're going to be checking things like documentation, conducting interviews, checking artifacts. And even if you're doing something and you have the documentation part missing, then in their eyes, you're not doing it. What's important to remember is that a C3PAO cannot provide you consulting. They can't provide you with any guidance before the audit. They can only assess what's in place. Even if they said you missed something, they can't provide you with consulting or guidance on how to fix or remediate what it is that you missed. This means that it is up to you as a company or business owner or IT manager, depending on your position, to ensure that your documentation, your security controls, and overall readiness are solid before the assessment. We do have a lot of people that we talk to on a daily basis. They say, hey, I'm not really sure where I'm at, but I want to go ahead and get a C3PAO on the books. Hey, listen, going through this audit is not a cheap process, as you know if you've priced it. So you definitely want to take the steps to make sure that you have met all of the controls and you have all the documentation in place, and that you actually will pass whenever it is time for this audit. Now, let's say you've done that, whether if you've done it internally or if you engaged with someone like Mad Security as third-party help, and you get to the point that you say, okay, I am ready. Where do I go now? How do I get a C3PAO? You definitely want to select the right one. Selecting the right C3PAO is one of the most important decisions that you're going to make in your CMMC journey. The other most important decision is making sure how you ensure that you're compliant ready before contacting a C3PAO, like I mentioned on the last slide. The C3PAO is responsible for conducting the official audit, and not all C3PAOs are created equal. So what should you look for? The key factors that I would recommend you considering are look at their, excuse me, I messed the slides up here, are looking for their accreditation and experience to ensure that they are officially authorized by Cyber AB, have a strong track record with NIST 800-171 audits. You want to make sure they have expertise in your industry. Find a C3PAO that understands the specific sector's challenges that'll provide more efficient and effective audit for you. You want to find one that communicates and is transparent. A reputable C3PAO will clearly define the scope, the timelines, and give you all of the expectations up front. There will be no blind spots for you. You want one that is available. and has the capacity to conduct your audit. Some C3PAOs now have a long wait time, so planning is key. Again, this is for preparation for CMMC as well as the C3PAO audit. Lots of people think they have all the time in the world. They think, oh, 2025, it's going to start hitting contracts. We can knock this out now. If you haven't started preparing yet, now's the time to start. Couldn't wait any longer. I would say now is the time to get on board. And the reason is because it's going to take you a while to prepare for it and to get CMMC compliant ready. And then we're seeing lines from 3 months at the shortest to 6 to 12 months at the longest for different C3PAO waiting lines. And also remember, whenever you're selecting your C3PAO, that a C3PAO cannot consult and assist you in preparation. They only conduct the assessment. Preparation should be handled separately. This gives me a little point that I need to touch on here. I talk to a lot of potential clients on a regular basis. They'll ask us, we need help with preparing for the audit. Are you a C3PAO? And what our answer is no, MAD Security is not a C3PAO. We've made the choice not to do so. The reason being is because what I said a moment ago, if we were a C3PAO, we could not consult with you and we could not assist you in the preparation. Now, we have C3PAO partners. We've been through audits with C3PAOs, which we can tell you a little more about, or Cliff will touch on for us here shortly. And we've actually had some of our compliance team go through C3PAO training. The reason, again, that we've chosen not to do that is because what we specialize in is helping you prepare to make sure that you are indeed CMMC compliant ready, which means that we cannot do both. It'd be a conflict of interest. So just remember that if you're in the preparation phase, you're not a SPRS score of 110, that whenever you're getting ready to consult with someone about assisting you, you don't go to the C3PO for assistance. Get you a MSSP, RPO like MAD Security, or you can do it internally, but not with the C3PAO. But here's some good news. When you do work with MAD Security, we have some suggestions on C3PAOs that we can refer to you. Ones that have already been through the process, ones that have audited other clients of ours already, and that understand you and your goals. So when you work with us, we won't leave you to fend for yourself. We're basically going to do everything we can to make the process as seamless and easy as possible, as stressful as it naturally is. Then Cliff is going to touch on JSVA versus CMMC audit.
Thanks, Adam. So the DoD had allowed joint surveillance voluntary assessments to be done in advance of CMMC becoming a final rule on October 16th. And that was designed to give those who were forward-leaning kind of a running head start into the CMMC Level 2 certification process. And so those companies that went through the JSVA process, what they experienced it is very similar to what an actual CMMC audit is, but it was actually a little bit more accommodating in that there was a longer time frame in order to be able to remediate any findings. And it just was a slightly more collaborative effort, if you will, than a CMMC audit is presently designed for. So the JSVA was a good way for those folks who did that. Now that CMMC 2.0 is in effect, the JSVAs have pretty much gone away, and so now what they're doing is going to the C3PAOs as an audit. Now the JSVAs included the DIBCAC folks. So what was interesting and what allowed us to get some great insight during the JSVA process and taking multiple clients through it was that we were able to get word directly from DIBCAC, who are kind of who C3PAOs are sort of representing as having the standard for that. So we were able to get information from those right directly from DIBCAC to the C3PAOs and us on what they're expecting for these. So we got to see how the sausage was made, which really helps in working with clients on how to establish their CUI enclave and what to expect from these assessments. So now that CMMC 2.0 is fully in effect, those folks who have JSVAs should be automatically given CMMC Level 2 status. So those are the main differences there. Really, one point I also want to make is that CMMC Level 3 really isn't a thing yet. It will be, but you have to get your CMMC Level 2 first. We get a lot of questions from folks who are like, okay, there's the JSVA, which was always the CMMC Level 2 level, and then now we're rolling out CMMC Level 2 audits. Level 3 isn't really being done yet. And so folks should go through their 2.0 first. You can't just go straight to 3. So that's one point that I'll make as well.
Yeah, excellent. Thank you very much, Cliff. Yeah, I do know that what you're thinking. There's a lot to unwrap there, and we only had a few minutes to touch on it. But again, please feel free to reach out to Cliff or myself with additional questions that you have, and we will also take questions here in the Q&A session as well, because I know there's a lot there. But great job, Cliff. Very well explained. So MAD Security's proven process. I'm not going to spend a lot of time here. This is about you, but I do want to just show you, you know, why you can trust MAD Security with assisting through this. MAD Security is achieving CMMC Level 2 certification. It does require more than just documentation. It does demand technical implementation, ongoing monitoring, expert guidance. Our services are built to help organizations assess their current compliance, implement security controls, prepare the documentation for those C3PAO assessments, ensure continuous compliance and security posture improvements. And a little bit more about us is we are ranked among the top 250 MSSPs for 4 consecutive years in a row. We have, as Cliff mentions, successfully guided clients through the JSVA and CMMC Readiness. We are Cyber AB registered practitioner organization. We are RPO, achieved a 110 SPRS score for many of our clients. We are 24/7, 365 days US-based security operations center here in Huntsville, Alabama. And we are experts in NIST 800-171, DFARS 252.204-7012 compliance with a proven track record. We are a service, excuse me, we service disabled veteran-owned businesses. We safeguard your business with world-class, industry-leading managed services technology solutions. SOC is operated by background-checked, credentialed U.S. citizens in Huntsville. Over 85% of our clients are government contractors seeking CMMC compliance. 15 years of cybersecurity and compliance experience, CMMC Level 2 audit scheduled for Q1 2025. I'd like to touch on this last point here. There are a lot of MSSPs and RPOs that have not committed to becoming or getting audited for CMMC Level 2 themselves. It's technically not a requirement yet. We are foreseeing that requirement coming. So that is something that we have committed to doing, making the sacrifices to make sure that we are doing the same thing that you have to. We are experts at it. Again, we've been doing it for a long time, and we think it's fair. We think it is something that is also going to give you more confidence that we know what we're doing and that your providers are also CMMC compliant ready. We are owned. You see here we have Jeremy Conway, president of the company, 26 plus years of experience, built and led the NASA SOC. We have Cliff Neve, vice president, 30 plus years of experience. We heard from Cliff just a moment ago. Cliff, could you tell us a little bit about what you did with the White House and Coast Guard?
Sure. I was deputy CIO at White House Comms Agency. Spent 20 years active duty in the Coast Guard. When I retired, I was the deputy commander at Coast Guard Cyber Command. So it's interesting as I dealt with NIST 800-171 right as it was coming out when I was on active duty and had a chance to comment on it. So we've been involved with NIST 800-171 since its inception, effectively.
Excellent. Yeah. So like Cliff said, you can definitely know that you're working with someone that's had the experience all of these years along, not uh, what you're seeing a lot of today. In summary, to sum that up, we're not a bandwagon CMMC company. 15 years, lots of experience, and we specialize with working directly in the DIB supply chain, simplifying cybersecurity challenges for you and providing expert guidance for CMMC compliance readiness. There's two things that we do, and we do them well, which is managed cybersecurity services and compliance services. So you can definitely trust that we know how to guide you and get you to whatever your goals are and where you've got to go. I will stop here just for a moment so that you can see. It's giveaway time uh, for a few different things, as well as if you want a free consultation, now's the time that we could do that as well. This slide deck you'll get a copy of this particular town hall webinar so that you'll be able to go to these links. We have a free pre-assessment that you can take that is going to show how CMMC ready you are. You've got the free CMMC master bundle. You can fill that out and it'll actually give you a lot of information on CMMC itself. We also have the free CMMC assessment guide that'll actually guide you through each step, which is a longer, more detailed version of what we've been doing here today so far. And then you can sign up for the free consultation. So you can either email me with some times or you'll get that copy that's got my meeting link as well. And you can put some time directly on my calendar. We'll spend 20, 30 minutes, talk a little more about, what you've done so far, where you're at, and see if and how we would even be able to assist. If nothing else, we can have a conversation and you'll get some free information out of it. So definitely be my pleasure to meet with you on that. And this leads us to the closing for today. We're going to open it up for questions. Anybody that has anything, feel free to go ahead and type it in and we will handle those as they come in.
Adam, there's already one in there. It says, so we are ISO certified. Does that make us good for CMMC? And that's a great question because ISO certification, whether it's ISO 9000, ISO 27000, is a completely different process. Now there's similar controls, right? You still have access controls. You've got physical security controls, auditing and accountability controls. But what we found is that CMMC, the level of rigor is much, much more challenging. And the amount of artifacts that are required, that C3PAOs require for their audit, it isn't just a interview, write it on paper. It's a send me an artifact showing how you collect logs. Send me an artifact showing me that you've done that for the last 2 to 3 to 4 months. And so it's not enough to just have those things in place. You have to show the auditors that you've been doing them and that you have them in place, because this isn't, although it is a point in time assessment, it's evaluating your maturity. That the the M and CMMC are one of the M's. So that's an important note. But this is from everything that I've seen. I've done ISO certifications before, much more challenging than that. And we've had folks that where their environment was not suitable for CUI, even though it was ISO certified, because of the way that they handle CUI, which is kind of what CMMC is all about. Let's see. Another question is, what's the best advice you can provide for the CMMC process and recommending a C3PAO? Okay, so that's an interesting question. What I would say is the most important thing is to engage someone as early in the process as possible. We've seen folks, none of our clients, every client we've had that's gone through engaged us early on got a 110. But we've seen clients and heard from clients who made an assumption early on, and then they got to the actual audit and they had the wrong scope for their CUI environment, or they made incorrect assumptions for their CUI environment. And that caused them to have to basically re-engineer and almost start from the beginning in some cases. And so if I were to tell you that you were, that your taxes this year, you're filling out your taxes, and at the end of it, the IRS is with 100% certainty going to audit your taxes. probably a lot of you that don't have CPAs are going to go out and get CPAs to be there with you when you do that audit, to make sure that you're doing it right. And that's the best way that I can characterize this, is that it's like going through a tax audit with the IRS. Only instead of less than 1% of things being audited, 100% of these certifications are audited. So the other thing you can do is, when you engage in RPO, for instance, we've worked with 4 or 5 different C3PAOs. We know kind of the personalities of them, and so we're able to do a match with somebody who might have a lot more um, knowledge and understanding about certain technologies that you may have. And there's multiple ways of getting to CMMC compliance. There's not just one way, despite what a lot of folks will tell you. So there are multiple ways, and there are multiple categories. One of the things I do want to say as well is, going back to the ISO question, is that POAMs are not allowed for CMMC, whereas they are in ISO. So you have to have a perfect 110 score, which is challenging. So so the earlier you start, you can save yourself a lot of money and a lot of time by engaging someone early on. It's actually better to have somebody involved. If you've got your choice between, hey, we're going to bring somebody in early to help us with our strategy, and we're going to have somebody assess us at the end to see if we're ready, I would choose bringing somebody in at the beginning, so that you're getting your assumptions correct, so that what you're building out and implementing is going to be ready, so that when you do that audit, when you do a readiness assessment, you're in a good situation. Otherwise, you may end up going back to that point. Hopefully that answers that question.
Yeah, I've got one here that that's asking what happens. They're getting questionnaires. Let's see. I'm getting questionnaires from our prime asking about their CMMC readiness. Basically, there's no requirements outside of that. It's basically just a questionnaire. Looks like the question structured in a sense like what's the risk that they're taking by not being compliant ready at that point?
So what we're seeing is a lot of the primes are getting even more discerning about the subs that they do work with. And we help some primes with managing their ecosystem. And so they want to know and be assured that whoever they're passing CUI to, which they're ultimately responsible for that CUI, is going to be prepared and is taking CMMC seriously. So we've seen some of the larger primes come out with these questionnaires, making sure that folks are actually going through the process, have actually done their system security plans, have addressed the controls in NIST 800-171. And if you aren't taking that seriously, there's a couple of different ways that can bite you. One is that if you say no, we're not taking it seriously, then probably that prime is going to drop you and go with somebody who's a lower risk, because that's what I would do if I was a prime. The other thing is that we've seen forms where they require an officer of the company certify. So what's interesting is that that puts accountability. It's not just buried in the contract someplace. It is a separate form that says we certify that we have done a system security plan, that we're meeting the controls, and that we're in line to get our CMMC level 2. And if a corporate officer signs their name to that assigns some accountability. And I think that, whereas in the past, I always say that the sound of policy without enforcement is the sound of one hand clapping. This is starting to set things up for even when CMMC level 2 self-certifications are required. It isn't just the old pencil whip that we saw for years and years and years where it wasn't being enforced. And we saw all these companies report that their SPUR score was 110, even though they didn't even have an SSP to provide. So what we're seeing is that you're setting yourself up for some legal actions if you mischaracterize how you're going through it. And it's definitely not going away. The new administration brought in Miss Arrington to be an advisor, and those of us who know that she was kind of the mother of CMMC. And so by President Trump bringing her in, we kind of see the writing on the wall that CMMC is happening. And you know, whether you're self-certifying, even if you're self-certifying, you're best to have an RPO like Mad Security come in and give you a letter of attestation, so that if I was a company officer, that's what I would want. I wouldn't sign that form without an expert on the outside telling me that I was clean and good to go. I wouldn't take that I wouldn't take necessarily my IT staff's word for that. So that's another service that we can provide is a letter of attestation saying that we as an RPO have reviewed and you're in line. So when you self-certify, you can have the peace of mind to know that you're actually signing off on something that's existing.
Excellent. No, we've got a few other questions here, but unfortunately that's all the time that we do have today. Definitely send in the rest of your questions because we want to get back to you. You can give us a call here at Mad Security. Cliff Neve and myself, Adam Starnes, are both on LinkedIn as well, so feel free to send us over an invite. We hope you got a lot of knowledge out of this today. If not, again, send us those questions. We'd love to talk to you one-on-one, answer those exact questions that you have, and really just help you through the process. Again, Mad Security assists with security operations as well as compliance services. And it would definitely be our pleasure to have a conversation around what challenges you're facing, seeing if we could help simplify those and provide some expert guidance for your CMMC compliance readiness. But until next time, we appreciate you coming, and we'll talk to you soon.